you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
How was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. I just got back from Minnesota visiting my mom and her side of the family yesterday, so we had a great time. It was really nice to see her.
Oh, nice. And she's doing well?
Yeah, she's doing good. I mean, she's like still trying to settle in and, get on her feet, but she's doing good for the most part, so that's good.
Oh, good. So I'm sure it was really rewarding to get to see her.
Yeah, it was nice to see her just because I haven't seen her since August when she came up for my graduation. So it's been a pretty long time.
Oh, nice. How long ago did she move out there?
She moved last May.
Last May.
Yeah, so then she came for my graduation in August, and then we just flew out Thursday.
So tell me about the relationship between you and your mom.
So we've had an interesting relationship. I mean, it's definitely really good now, but there was a time where we had a rough patch. So we were really close growing up, and then my parents got divorced when I was in 4th grade, which was obviously hard. So then, my dad stayed in the house, and then she moved away. So then for the custody, it was like 1 week on, 1 week off, and that like worked fine. And then when I was in middle school, I think I just started 6th grade, she got a DUI, so like drinking under influence. Mm-hmm. And that was hard for me just because she kind of hid it from me in the beginning. Like, my sister ended up telling me. Mm-hmm. So that was hard. I think that definitely strained our relationship. So once, she got her license back, she lost it again. And then because it was driving while with the suspended license. Mm-hmm. So when that happened, she lost it for like a year or so time. And obviously that was even harder. And because our relationship was already rocky, and now it's even more rocky. So then she decided, well, I'm going to move to Minnesota because she couldn't drive here. So she's like, I'm going to get a Minnesota license because I guess you could do that, even though it sounds like really risky. She was like, I'm going to go to Minnesota, get a Minnesota license, then I'll be able to work there, and then I'll eventually like come back to New Jersey. So that was very difficult because obviously I was living with my dad full time then. I was in high school, obviously going through like boy problems and like friendship problems and any other high school girl problems that you can have. And I didn't have my mom there because she decided to move back because of like her mistakes that she made. Mm-hmm. So that was really hard. And then it wasn't until she moved back from Minnesota here. I mean, it didn't last long. I think it was like a year that she was there until she moved back. And then like we did our own therapy together. Like, she came into my therapy sessions. We were able to like mend the relationship like dramatically. So ever since, I would say like my freshman year of college to now, like we're just very close.
Wow, that's unbelievable. So your relationship with your mom, it's kind of seen like extreme highs and extreme lows.
I feel like we've definitely like seen everything that you could see in a relationship.
Yeah, and it almost like one can say that it would make you stronger now as like you've gotten older and really been able to rebuild those bridges.
Yeah, I think it speaks wonders that like we went from such a low place and like such like a hard time in a relationship to where we are at now. Like, I mean, it took like obviously a lot of like therapy together, talking about like what happened, what it was like for me, what it was like for her, but we were able to like work it out.
Yeah, it seems like talking things out like has really helped you throughout your life.
Yeah, because I think like I was telling you about like before, like I would hold things in, and I definitely used to do that all in the past. So it was like just a lot of stuff like building up, and then like I reached my breaking point, and that was like when I decided not to talk to her for a time being because I was so upset with her. But I've learned that like that's not like a healthy way to cope, and to just talk about how you feel like when you're starting to feel something instead of holding everything in.
Yeah, and throughout the rehab or therapy process with you and your mom, was she like on board with all the changes?
She suggested, so I was seeing my own personal therapist, and she suggested like, why don't we have our own like therapy session? And obviously I was a little hesitant towards it because I was still feeling so angry with her. But I was like, you know what, like it might be good for us to have like a mediator, like facilitate the conversation so it can't go in one direction or the other. And that was really helpful. And she was really on board with it.
Wow. That's unbelievable. So throughout this process too, especially when you were younger, is your sister older or younger?
Yeah, she's older. She's 29.
Okay, so a couple years older than you.
Yeah.
Was she kind of there to help you through the transition like in high school, or how did that look?
So she went away to South Carolina University of South Carolina, when she was undergrad, and then her and her boyfriend at the time decided to stay down there. And then while I was in high school and beginning college, they moved to Boston, stayed in Boston, which was nice because I was at UNH at that time, so it wasn't that far with each other. But we only saw each other like maybe twice a year. So she wasn't really there. She was up in Boston, and now they're in South Carolina again.
Were you able to see your sister for the holiday?
No. Her and her husband decided to stay in South Carolina. They couldn't make the trip.
Okay. So
Yeah.
how does that relationship like impact you now?
Me and my sister were definitely really close when we were younger, and then when I was in middle school, she was in high school. We weren't so close because she was going through her own things. And kind of was like rebelling against the family in a way. So we weren't close then, and we're trying to start mending our relationship. It's just hard because we're just two completely different personalities. So we're often like butting heads and stuff like that. But now that we're older, we're able to see things more clear eyes. So we're trying to like mend that relationship.
So what is mending that relationship like? How would that look to you?
I think it's just definitely since we're far away in distance, just calling each other more often, checking up on each other, making sure each other is okay. Because before we would go like months without communicating with each other. And I think that was unhealthy for our relationship just because it was even furthering distant our relationship already.
For sure.
So I think just calling each other more often, checking in with each other would help it a lot.
Yeah. So have you been able to do any of that?
We just started. So I feel like maybe like a month times back, we just started doing that. And it makes me feel better because we both have kept up on our promise to each other, calling each other more often.
Yeah. Wow. So that's has to be so rewarding that you're able to make that promise with your sister and you both have kind of been equal parts in that relationship.
Yeah, it's definitely rewarding, and it's also, I don't want to say satisfying, but it is that we're both keeping like our word on it, and not like one person doing all the work and the other person not reciprocating. It's nice that we're both like meeting in the middle.
Yeah, no, satisfying I feel like is a great word to describe that, because like in a relationship having equal parts, I feel like has been something voiced throughout our conversations that like is really important to you.
Yeah, it is. I think just communication is like key, and when like there's a lack of communication, I feel like that's when like everything starts to like go bad.
Yeah, for sure. I think that since we've started meeting throughout the whole process, especially in the beginning where we were talking about your relationship with your boyfriend, you've kind of recognized that and really have grown since the beginning, which is really awesome.
Yeah, thanks. I think that just like from like my own past experience and life experiences, I've learned that like I cannot not communicate. Like I'm only gonna like hurt myself if I do that, so I would rather prevent that than do it. And yeah, I mean, it's like recently knew that I've been doing that like the past few years, but before I was like the complete opposite. And I was only like hurting myself doing that.
Yeah, it causes so much more stress on you because you're just thinking about all the possibilities or like the possible outcomes. Whereas like if you're just able to say it, you can kind of figure it out together.
Yeah, I think it's also nice too being able to like communicate and knowing that someone's there too to listen. And I was having a hard time being able to like even do that in the first place, but having like that reaction of them wanting to help me, I think made it even like better and easier to do so.
Yeah. How has this kind of been? I know that we were talking about your boyfriend in the beginning of sessions, and then he was able to come with you to see your mom. How has that been kind of since?
It's been really nice. We had a great time together. I mean, he's met that entire side of the family before, but he's never been to Minnesota. So it was nice of him to like bring him there and show him like where my mom grew up because she was born there, and like where I've been going for like years now, obviously to visit them. And it was really nice. We had a really good time with each other, and I could definitely tell like he appreciated the time with my family too.
That's awesome.
And with my mom because he doesn't see her either.
Yeah, that's really good. And having those bonds between obviously two really important people of your life, that really means a lot to you.
Yeah, it does. So I just think that if they didn't get along, that would say something about like my relationship with him. I feel because if he didn't get along with my mom, like I don't know if I'd be able to continue that relationship because I just feel like it would be constantly like one thinking about if I was siding with one or the other.
Yeah. So tell me more about that. Like they would argue?
I don't know. I just think that like I feel like if your significant other didn't get along with your family, it would just create a lot of hardships in the relationship.
Yeah, I could definitely see that and understand why that would be something so important to you.
Yeah, so I'm grateful that it's not that way.
Yeah,
I do get
for
along
sure.
really well, so I'm grateful for that.
How has your relationship been in terms of, I know he was becoming a police officer and you have to figure out where you're going to move?
Well, so we found out literally right before we were leaving that he got in to the police academy, which is unbelievable.
That's awesome.
But it's also contingent upon him passing the last two steps. So they sent him the congratulations, like you've been accepted to class, whatever, like, start getting your belongings together, and here's a list of the emails of your other classmates or officers or whatever. But it's contingent upon the last two steps. So he finds out when the next two steps are this week. So now it's just kind of like, well, is he 1,000% in and he's going to some January 6th, or is like, it's still so up in the air, but like it was nice to get that congratulations letter.
Yeah, I'm sure you're probably super proud of him, and he's obviously, I'm assuming, very excited to have made it this far. How are you handling like this uncertainty in your life?
Oh, I feel like I'm not doing well. I just feel like, because I'm so proud of him and I want him to like go, But at the end of the day, I'm still like, well, there's still 2 steps. Like, what happens if like he doesn't get in? Then what? Or like, I just want these 2 steps to happen. He gets in, so we're done. But like, I know that those 2 steps are still so up in the air. I just want that certainty.
Yeah. So how are we coping until we can get that certainty?
I haven't been coping well. I'm like, well, I'm talking to like people about it. You know, I'm telling my family, obviously, but like everyone is so like, well, he's in already. Like, congratulations. I'm like, but he's not though.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's these 2 steps, and Mike was like, well, you know, you gotta take it day by day. He's like, you can't focus on like what hasn't come yet. And I'm like, I know. So I'm really trying to focus on the moment, and know that the next 2 are like kind of out of my control.
So Mike has kind of almost been a sounding board for you
Yeah.
through his own process and how it's affecting you.
He's very level-headed. Like, he's very calm, cool, collected. Kind of goes with the punches, and I'm like completely the opposite. So he kind of levels me out when like I'm at this really big high, and he's like, you know, helps me like come to the middle.
How does it make you feel that he has been kind of there for you through his own like probably stress?
I mean, it just shows me like how much he does care and love me. I think it also just like speaks wonders to our relationship that like when I was going through stuff, like he was there for me, and when he's going through stuff, he's still there for me, even though he's dealing with his own things. I think it just shows kind of like how far we've come as a relationship and like how strong we are as a relationship.
Yeah, looking back or having the ability to look back and reflect on how much you've grown together is probably really rewarding.
Because we started out dating when I was still at University of New Hampshire, and then going through all these life changes of like moving to our own apartment and him deciding what career he wants to and to drop out of school and only getting his associates. Like, I feel like we just gone through so much together and been there for each other. So I don't know. It's just really nice to know that I have someone there for me whenever I need someone.
Yeah, and reflecting back on all of those different life changes, which I'm sure you've been through a lot of stressful times before, can only help you get through this stressful time as well.
Yeah, I know that we'll make whatever the outcome is. I know that we'll be in it with each other. So I know that will be good, you know?
Yeah, having that sense of certainty in such an uncertain time has really given you the strength to kind of keep going.
And I know that, like, no matter what, he's going to worry about, like, if I'm okay more than if he's okay, which I don't want him to think that way, but, like, that's probably, like, what will happen.
Yeah, and that, knowing that and having confidence in that, like, your relationship, I feel like has been, although you said you're not coping well, maybe, like, a little bit of has given you a little bit of strength in, like, this difficult time.
Yeah, I think, I mean, talking about it now, I think I feel more comfortable with the situation than I make it out to be that I am. But yeah, I know that whatever happens, like, it's out of my control. So,
how does that reflect or affect upon your relationships with your mom or your sister?
I think just that before with my mom and my sister, I was so not communicating with them. Like, I wasn't communicating with them at all. Like, I would hold burdens where I would just hold grudges and not talk to them for a period of time. I just was only sabotaging myself by thinking not communicating with them was going to actually help me when it wasn't. So luckily, I learned from what didn't work with them to be able to shift it to my relationship with my boyfriend and be able to talk to him instead of, you know, holding it in and only holding grudges.
So talk to me about that. Use the word sabotage, like you're sabotaging yourself. Talk to me about that self-sabotage.
I just feel like when you're, you know, have a conflict with someone and you're not communicating with them, or you're only holding in your own feelings or just refusing to talk to them, you're not going to get anywhere in that relationship. You're only going to make it worse and not progress. And that was definitely what I was doing with my mom, my sister. Just that I don't think that I knew how to cope with what I was feeling and what happened in the relationships. But since, you know, learning that that wasn't helping, I was able to not do that with my boyfriend because I learned that that's not the way to do things.
Yeah, and you're almost like more able to kind of catch yourself if you fall back into that now based off of learning your previous experiences.
Yeah, I think I'm more proactive, and I always think before I do something in the sense of like, well, is this realistic to get mad over? What am I feeling? Is this like realistic to be feeling this way? Should I talk to him about it? And I think I have that process now in my mind before I approach it, rather than in the past I would just be like, I can't believe they did that. Like, I'm not talking to them.
Yeah. So talk to me about this process. I think that's really interesting what you just said. How does that look?
So say like, I'm trying to think of an example. Okay. So for my birthday, I wanted to go out with my boyfriend, one of my friends, her boyfriend, and then a few other people. And, you know, I was texting him because he was working all day. I'm like, okay, like, our plans are at this time. Like, we're going to go to the Watermark in Asbury. And he was like, well, I don't really know if I want to go out tonight. I'm like, well, you don't need a drink. Like, I just want to spend the time with you, like, and all of them, like, for my birthday, celebrating my birthday. He's like, yeah, but, like, I'm really tired and I have work in the morning. Like, I don't really want to go. And I was like, but, Mike, like, this is my birthday. Like, you said that, like, whatever I want to do for my birthday, like, we can do. Like, you don't need a drink or party, whatever. Like, I just want you to be there. And then, you know, he kept going. So I had to help, like, hold myself back and just be like, think, like, okay, is this realistic to get mad over? Like, he does have work in the morning. Am I just pushing what he already doesn't want to do? So I was able to hold back and, like, not go off on him over text message. So then when he came home from work, we were able to have, like, a normal, mature conversation about it. I told him, I was like, you know, it's important for you to come to my birthday. Like, we don't have to stay forever. Like, I just want to be able to celebrate with you and all my friends. It's important for you to come. He's like, okay, like, I get it. Like, I'll come. So I feel like if I went off in that moment or just completely ignored him, like, it would have taken a completely different turn than the outcome.
Right. He would have been more offended by your behavior instead of you just explaining yourself and why it was important for him to be there.
Yeah, I think if I reacted that way, he would have done the opposite and been like, well, since you reacted that way, like, I definitely don't want to come now.
Yeah. So that's important, too, for you to recognize that your communication skills and how they have grown has really impacted or prevented problems from happening.
Yeah, I feel like I'm so quick to react, and I feel like that's only, like, gotten me into trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So I really try to, like, hold myself back, especially when, like, my blood's going in and, like, I could react that way. Like, I really try to hold myself back because I know that if I react in that situation, it would not turn out the way that I wanted it to.
Yeah, and you're able to catch yourself now before that happens.
Yeah, I try to. I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, but it's better than it used to be.
Yeah. So talk to me about the process. Like, once you catch yourself and you're angry about something, before you react, what kind of goes through your head?
A lot. Like, all these ways of which I could respond to the person, how I want to respond, but it's just, like, a process of, like, what I truly feel. So if I'm quick to be like, well, I can't believe you're doing that, like, you're being a bad boyfriend, like, I would hold myself back and be like, well, these are the sides of it. Like, I want him to come for my birthday, but he also has work in the morning, doesn't want to be out till forever. I get that. Like, I realistically get that.
Yeah.
But the quick reaction would be like, I can't believe you're doing this. So I think it's just a process of being, like, realistic and true to myself and my real emotions, and then letting those come out instead of, like, my angry emotions, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. No, I understand. I feel like you identify how you're feeling, and then you try to think of it from all angles based off of the issue that you're having with everyone. And then based off of that, you're kind of able to be like, well, this is how I feel, but let me see how I can approach this in, like, the least offensive way.
Yeah, because I need to understand that, like, a confrontation and argument takes two people. There's two sides to every story. It's not just solely me and my emotions. It's also them and their emotions. So I think that also plays into, like, that process.
Yeah. Have you had open conversations with, like, important people in your life about, like, your own process?
Yeah, I think my mom was definitely the one that pushed me to be able to, like, talk to people. Because, you know, she kind of brought up some, well, you held in so many things for so many years, like, look what happened. So I think just, like, kind of that, like, oh, wow, like, you're right moment, like, really spoke wonders to me. And just, like, having constant reminders of, like, well, you know, I'm always here if you need to talk, or, like, I see that you're upset, like, let's talk about it. I guess, like, those little encouragers help me open up.
Yeah. So, does your boyfriend use any of those with you?
Not necessarily, just because I think he knows that at this point, like, if I was feeling some way, like, I would talk to him about it. But I think he definitely tells, like, when I'm upset, maybe being, like, you know, standoffish, and then he'd be like, well, what's up? Like, what's going on? Type of thing. So I think, like, when he visibly sees me upset or, like, isolating myself, then he'll bring something up.
Talk to me about what this self-isolation looks like.
I think I would just kind of, like, I don't know, I think I would just isolate myself. Like, if he was in one room, I would go to the other and just, like, go on my computer, just want to be alone. I think just a lot of being, like, alone in my thoughts.
Yeah.
And not wanting to communicate or talk to, like, the people that I care about.
So when you're alone, it kind of doesn't make it better for your relationships with people. You're kind of, that self-isolation just probably makes you think even more about the situation.
It makes me overthink everything.
Yeah.
And it makes me think of, like, unrealistic things that are not going to happen. But, like, I'm just sitting in my own thoughts. Like, I'm just going over and over in my head, like, what could happen. And then that just, like, obviously is not healthy.
Yeah. So maybe next week we can talk more about this self-isolation and trying to get out of overthinking situations. I think that you're doing a great job with understanding how you react in your relationships and how to really keep them strong. So next week I just want to kind of talk a little bit more about that.
All right, I'm looking forward to it.
All right, see you next week.
See ya.
Bye.